Everyone, and welcome to the Vic Akers Wonderland Road to Stadium Australia podcast. The impossible has happened. We never thought it would happen, but yes, not only am I back hosting another episode, England, the Lionesses, are through to a World Cup final. Woo! It's finally happened. Unbelievable. It's an incredible, monumental day for the Lionesses for, everything that's come before, building upon success of last summer, and to try and pick apart how that's happened, I've got three magnificent co-hosts to pick this apart. Firstly, the lovely Lottie. Lottie, how was that moment? Your first World Cup, and we're in a final.
I think I've got to use that iconic phrase. It's unbelievable, Jeff.
It is unbelievable, Jeff.
So I was obviously second half. Me and Gee were talking. And I've got to say, I've had a nice slice of humble pie because she sent me the away strip and what colours we were wearing. And I went, oh my God, that's a bad omen. That's not good. That's not good. And then I was really sort of nervous.
Is that why you're wearing the away strip? To sort of
No, I've had this on every game. It doesn't matter. I've had this on every game. The fact is, it's the first time the girls wore it, and they've won in it. And it was just like, with some teams who've won the away tournament, they've gone on and lost on the first time of wearing it. So I was like, oh shit. But I'm quite happy having a bit of humble pie at this point.
Apologies for that. But yes, we are. Lottie, please don't stop wearing that shirt. It's obviously working. Alongside Lottie is, of course, the gorgeous Gee. Gee, how are you? Enjoying the World Cup as much as we are?
Amazing. All the emotions of the Euros day just came flooding back in waves today. And I just honestly want it to be Sunday, like right now.
I want to. It's a long time. I'm given the stakes of Sunday. I want to bask in this sort of this moment between the heartbreak. Whatever happens in the final, I can just enjoy the moment that we've actually got to the final. And I want.
Are you still being cynical?
I am being cynical because, like you wearing your away shirt, me being cynical has got us this far, and I will remain cynical until the final whistle.
Then I shall remain calling you out on it, as I have all the way through. In that case,
absolutely, because it's working perfectly. It's perfection. One for legend to raise, and that is obviously the magnificent Matt. Matt, how's the World Cup been for you? Enjoy the game today?
Legend. I think that's a bit of stretching it at the moment. There's been plenty of legendary Arsenal supporters over the years. I'm not the one that's on the Emirates, shall we say?
But we don't talk about that, Matt. Don't inflate my ego any further, please. We've got a podcast to record.
Anyway,
it's like putting the pin in it for months and it still doesn't work. So there's no difference, really, is there, Matt?
No. Yes. To be honest, I wasn't expecting that kind of performance, but it just shows you the type of players that need a little bit of time to get into it. This is a different tournament entirely to the World Cup, and the fact that we've now got players arriving. We'll talk more about it on the show tonight, but I'm looking forward to it because it was a really good win, and I wasn't expecting that that.
I mean, the best review I can give is probably my dad, who actually was watching the game, and he said it's one of the best England games, men or women, he's seen at a best sort of tournament game. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think a lot of time, I was thinking about this earlier today about us getting better as the tournament progresses. And I think some of my cynicism is watching the men's team labour through group stages and then fall in the end and lose like 4-1 to Germany. But we've seen a real growth for this team progress through the tournament, getting better and better with every game as the team sort of harmonises and those connections like Hemp and Russo get better. It's very rare you get a performance like that against a team that isn't, I don't know, Panama. It actually is a really good result against a really good team. And the closest I can think of is maybe beating Argentina in 2002, and that was with a very debatable penalty. Onto the game though, and in a sort of return to form for Serena, it's an unchanged lineup. I believe it's the first time we've gone unchanged in the tournament so far. So I revert back to the summer of 22, where it was the same team all the way through. Were you happy with the lineup? Was that what you expected, or there should have maybe been a few alterations? Lottie, I'll come to you first.
No, I was happy with it. I mean, there's no one else but Toone to play in the number role, in that number 10 position. But I was happy at seeing Lauren Hemp and Russo get their partnership up and running. It's absolutely dynamite. I mean, the back three, bit suspect with the Chelsea girls, but do you know what? I'm glad I was proved wrong.
Yes, well, we'll get onto that. I think that defensively, I think it's a 3-try back three that's really grown as they've played together. Not chopping and changing all the time and experimenting. It's now best of the back three, and we're riding this to the end. And I think it's getting stronger with every game. Helped with Millie Bright obviously coming back to fitness. Gee, any thoughts? Obviously, big Lauren Hemp fan. Must have been thrilled with her performance today. Thrilled to see her in the starting lineup.
Yeah, just really happy it was the same starting lineup. To be fair, I don't think any changes needed to be made. And I know we'll probably touch on it a bit later, but I believe it should stay the same for Sunday as well.
Yes.
No matter what happens, Toone turned up today, and she does in the big moments. Let's just say that.
Those who at Wembley, just like, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Gee,
go for it, Lottie.
What did I text you this morning?
Oh, do tell.
Which
what
one?
Did you text her?
The first one. I really hope Toone turns up today.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that was the one.
And can we just drop a quick fact in here? Because it deserves a mention. She is the first player for England, men and women's, not that we compare here, but to score in the quarterfinal, semi-final, and final of big competitions. Hopefully that also continues on Sunday. But what an incredible, especially we've not slated her, but we've all understood that she wasn't where we're used to seeing her. But I think today she was getting in those positions a lot more. It was a bit more natural to her today. And obviously she scored an absolute belter again and set us on her way. So really happy for her that she's had her moment as well.
This was what I was sort of leaning on earlier about. I'm so not used to seeing England progress through tournaments. So a lot of the time I judge the players on how they're in the group stage, because I only ever get to see them for 3, maybe 4 games until they conk out. And for the first 4 games of tournament, Ellie Toone either wasn't playing, or when she was playing, she wasn't up to it from what we can see. But it just shows the worth of not judging players on the first 2-3 games of tournament. It's taken a while, okay, but get to the semi-final, and now she's hit her, like I say, her moment. She's hit her form, hit her strides. So yes. Matt, I'll just come to you last. Matt, did you have any last thoughts on the starting lineup before I go through it?
I think when you were looking at it like for like, we knew Australia were going to play a 4-4-2. So it was more of a way, how do we flood the midfield and outnumber them in transition, and especially when we're defending. So it made sense just to go with the 5-3-2. Nice of me to nearly forget me altogether, but it's all right. I forgive you just this once. I was going to
come to you, and then I forgot, and thankfully I did remember. How could we forget? So the lineup unchanged, but I'll run it through regardless. Earps in goal, the back three of Jess Carter, Millie Bright, and Alex Greenwood. The wing backs of Elliot Daly and Lucy Bronze. Midfield 2 of Walsh and Stanway, with 2 number 10, and the front 2 of Hemp and Russo. So England kick off. The game kicks off rather, and I think we say Australia first shot across the bows. Kerr back in the side. We say this is the Kerr's first start of the tournament, coming back from an injury. I think we all expected Kerr to start. I think it would have been a bit of a surprise if she ran to the bench. This is always my big concern, because we know how good striker Kerr is. Races through. Earps 1v1 save. It was offside, thankfully, because as we know, Kerr's always offside. Even if anyone who's watched WSL will know. But a good save from Earps nonetheless, G.
Exactly. The thing is, you still have to, regardless, because of this silly rule, that you still have to stay switched on. And it was early on in the game, so that would have done wonders for her confidence. Even if she thought it was offside, you still got to just in case, make that save, don't you? So yeah, I think it set the tone for Mary Earps today. And obviously, of course, not to let the game go away so quickly as well. I don't know what Millie Bright kind of was going for a header that she was probably never if she was another footballer. I don't know if she would have made it. But so yeah, it was one of those where I think they got let off quite early, and it didn't end in a disaster, so we could just then push on. So yeah, really good save from Mary Earps early on to be in the game. The mindset is there, isn't it, with her?
Certainly. I mean, I was in the office, so I wasn't watching the game, but we had it on the radio, and there was sort of a collective hold of breath when we hear, "Oh, Kerr is racing clean through." We all know the talent she has, and well, those of us who watched the FA Cup final knows what she can do in those sort of situations. Before we move on, I just want to quickly touch on Australia. Actually, they've been a bit of a bogey team for us in recent years. 2 years ago, they obviously knocked us out of the Olympics when we were under the glorious regime of Hege Riise. No idea what's happened to her since. Faded into obscurity. And then obviously only a few months ago, we lost to them at Brentford 2-0. Only defeat that Serena has had managing England. So bit of a bogey side, bit of a grudge match. And this is sort of why I was always a bit, I have been a bit for the entire tournament, in fairness, of England game matches. But this was the one I thought the real, the bogey side. But my sort of fears sort of eased when I heard that we were getting so many great chances. Stanway raced through, beautiful ball over top from Greenwood. Matt, is this a good save from Mackenzie Arnold, or should Stanway just aim for the other corner?
It was basically Stanway didn't hit it properly. She tried to side foot it instead of using it, belting it through her laces. She usually does things like that. She'll belt it in, and it goes right into that top corner. Essentially, we'll talk about what the Toone goal later, but that it's basically like a copy, but it's basically like and showed her how to do it. But we are still waiting for a Georgia Stanway wonder goal. We still haven't had the Lucy Bronze wonder goal this tournament either. So
still time.
There's still time. There's still time. It's just I feel a bit sorry for Georgia because it's just the way she's hit it. But at the same time, when you hit it like that, you kind of hit it straight at the goalkeeper. There's nothing else that you can really do to change that. It's just body shape, position, make sure that you connect with it, and she just didn't really connect with it really well.
It was a bit of a poor connection, but that was only 8 minutes in. I mean, I think that sort of set the tone for the game to come. I watched, and we'll cover this on a later pod, the Spain Sweden game, and I don't think that was one certainly for the first 80 minutes, shall we say, wasn't a spectacle for the neutrals. Got a bit more exciting later on, but we'll cover that on another pod. But certainly there was from what I was hearing and what I've since watched on the catch up, there was a real sort of ebb and flow to the game. Plenty of attacks moving left and right, but what I could see, the defence seemed to have an answer. I thought defensively, every time a ball came in, headed clear, we had our positions right to intercept everything, and it looked, there weren't any goals, but it looked like we were in contention. We were. I think back to 2019, played the USA, and they just played us off the park, and we were, because it's the USA. It felt like we were genuinely in contest, in competition with Australia. We weren't being outplayed. Well in the contest. We'll get onto the Toone goal, but there was a moment when I was watching it back, a clearance, I think it might have been by Arnold, one of the defenders. I just want to highlight Jess Carter, the touch to bring this ball down from the sky in one movement, and it leads to a 2-minute period of possession that creates the throwing chance. We spoke about this on a previous pod, and I don't think certainly at the start of the tournament, I remember watching her against Haiti, and she looked all over the place. I've been really amazed at how much she's grown in this tournament, especially in the back three. She's looked better and better and better, and I think she had some amazing moments in this game, defensive moments. But that touch in one movement to bring this long ball out the sky on the halfway line, to stop Kerr running clean through, because he would have been clean through. England retain the ball, get the throw-in opportunity to the corner, which Daly takes. Lottie, from that, Hemp, flick on, Russo, cut back, and Ella Toone, the player we've been waiting to arrive. She arrives in some style, doesn't she?
Absolutely. I mean, what a goal! I mean, I did make the mistake of actually missing the original goal, and I had to watch the replay because someone texted me, and I looked down to read it, and then all of a sudden I hear Russo, and I was like, oh shit!
Could have been worse.
Yeah,
Roxy.
I've since then I've now kind of learnt my lesson. Like I'm not looking at my phone during games anymore, although that is a total lie. Especially when it comes to the Georgie G on the screen. But yeah, no, absolute cracker of the goal. As I said to G earlier during the day, I said, look, I need her to turn up today, and she absolutely did, which was absolutely bloody brilliant. She's finally arrived at the tournament, and when it kind of took her long enough, if you know what I mean. But again, she's been starting behind Lottie and Gee, so I can't really call her out on that.
Matt, we were talking about the Stanway technique not being great earlier. I think this is the one you're referring to. This was proper, full-blooded, through the laces, brilliantly executed.
It really was, and I think we should also say that's a great team goal. The fact that Lauren Hemp's also flicked it up. I know. I'm sorry, I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit. But the fact that she's flicked it up, and then and Alessia has managed to bring it under control and to make that cutback. It was a good goal all round, and the fact that Ella's. I think the real crime, really, in defence is that no one's following Ella Toone. They sort of just given her a free hit, and she's got a free hit, so she's got the momentum to just hit that, and it goes top corner. There's nothing Mackenzie Arnold can do about it.
I think Toone actually said in a post-match, I think she's never hit a ball like that before. Maybe for England, I think maybe she should probably do it a bit more, because it was an absolutely superb goal. And it got a lot. We were able to watch some of the catch-up in the office, and it got a lot of compliments. Seeing that flying, I mean, people in the office were raving about the Chloe Kelly penalty, because I'd never seen a ball struck that hard before in a shootout. But there was a lot of adoration for that Toone goal. So the game obviously progresses. Not many chances. I think there was a few moments on the counter, and then it was half time. That was it. I think Australia had one shot on target in that first half. It's a credit to how England had set up to frustrate Australia. G, I think you'd probably say, in comparison to previous performances, probably one of the best first halves for England in the tournament so far.
Yeah, for sure. The performance in the first half against Colombia was pretty good as well. So it looks like that confidence from that game has been put straight in, and it's so nice to obviously there's so much at stake in the semi-final, of course, that both teams weren't just going to sit back, play and worry. They were just both going for it, and I think the early chances as well kicked in the momentum. The crowd were unbelievable as well.
Crowd was superb. Absolutely.
Every throw in, they were just going on the radio. It was so loud. So it's also in a way a credit to us for handling that, because our girls are still, most of them are still getting used to full crowds regardless, but to have the whole stadium of 75,000 people basically not cheering you on, we did well to not let that distract us. And going in at 1-0, it was those minutes counting down as I was driving. I was like, please just keep calm, keep it simple, don't do anything silly now. And we obviously went into halftime 1-0 up, so very good first half performance.
It's the first time the Lionesses have led in a World Cup semi-final. In fact, in more Lioness stats, they've never lost a World Cup game when they have led. So it's nice. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the Euros. There's a few games that actually have blown from winning positions. But yes, Lionesses, when they're leading the World Cup, they are usually quite good. And I was thrilled. 1-0 half time, I thought perfect. But I always felt that Australia, whenever out there, they are the home team, and they have got one of the best strikers in the world. Second half, they had, I think, we had a few chances. I think Hemp had a good effort. Bright headed one wide, but I knew a Kerr goal was coming. It was inevitable. It just like Vivian Miedema scoring for Arsenal. I just felt Sam Kerr for the Aussies. Something was going to happen. It was just too perfectly set up for her. She's been out injured the whole tournament. She's first start, but the goal itself, I didn't see. It was unlike anything I expected, because it's incredible. It's up there with goal of a tournament, and Lauren James has scored some pearlers. But Matt, I'm going to come to you in this. I mean, we spoke about technique and so forth, but first we'll get on to the build to it. But the goal itself, how has she done that?
think it's down to the fact that both Jess Carter and Millie Bright, Millie Bright, not I think I nearly said Molly then.
Molly Bright,
some sort of word combination.
Evil sister.
Either way, it was Bright and Jess Carter, and for whatever reason, they just kept on backing. And the first thing you spot is that I believe it's Caitlin Ford that's on the other side. So you're thinking Jess Carter can't go over because of that. Millie Bright can go and engage, and she can be that second defender, or worst case scenario, she can jump forward and try and play the offside trap. And Kerr to just go, you know what, she knows Mary Earp's inside out anyway, and we know she loves a good chip. So it was kind of.
Well, as an Arsenal fan, we know she chipped her on the final day. If you remember that wonder goal to win in the league, it still rankles. But she knows how to score against Mary Earps.
It's when it comes to it, it's always a chip against Mary Earps. It's just. And oddly enough, Mary Earps is very suspicious when it comes to long balls. I don't like using that word. She is suspect, but she basically is. Being lobbed is not being great. It's not great as goalkeeper, but when you know it's one of your weaknesses, there's not a lot you can really do except try and work hard on it.
Yeah, well, she was lobbed, wasn't she, against Colombia? But this was out as well. The game actually comes from a turnover. In fact, there were quite a lot of moments in the game where England were losing the ball in midfield. There was, I think, Russo, got pressed off the ball quite a lot. So I think Carter, I remember seeing her have a misplaced pass across the midfield, and the only reason they didn't score was because Carpenter overcut the cross. But this was England trying to build an attack. Russo, they mugged the ball off her, worked it to Kerr, who was in her own half, sprints at a back line that is shockingly bare. There's only two defenders, as you say. But from about 30 yards out, she absolutely goes for it. I mean, Lottie, we obviously as Arsenal fans, we hell resented the Kerr, but I guess with a moment like that, you just have to stand and applaud, don't you?
Absolutely. I think as an England fan, you're like, oh, Kentucky mushrooms. and then you sit back and just contemplate it after the result, after everything, and you think, what a goal. The thing is, because it's Sam Kerr, and it's her home tournament, you're expecting the world. It had to come from somewhere, and it had to be against Mary Earps, and we know she's not fully fit, and I think them starting her was the biggest mistake.
Well, actually,
she should have been brought on at 60 minutes, and then we would have been in trouble.
Well, this is a question that you've stolen for later on in the pod, but I'm going to come on to that. But I'm glad I'm not the only one who was sort of thinking this. Gee, it's got to 1-1 with a wonder goal from Sam Kerr, crowd off their feet. Were you nervous, or were you confident that we could wrestle this one back?
The nerves kicked straight back in for me at that point. Not because I think it wasn't faithful, but it's that moment, isn't it? You think, oh my God, no. And I had honestly literally just got back to the office, put the screen on, and it went 1-1. And I thought, oh no, I've jinxed it now. But yeah, I mean, credit again to the girls. The crowd were obviously right back behind them at that point. It was a great goal. And Australia were then well back in the game, but didn't really last too long, to be honest. Did it? I don't know. I can't remember what time.
8 minutes. It was 8 minutes between. And this is the incredible thing, actually. I think they immediately afterwards, as a cross comes in, Kerr has a header, but it's just not facing the right way. It's more thick and it's straight to Earps. It's an easy take. But what really impressed me was the England response, because I was so expecting there to be almost like the second win, shall we say, in Australia, thinking, right, we've got the goal, we can keep going. But that never happened. For somehow, I don't know where it came from, England had the momentum, more so than when they were only 1-0 up. Bronze done a chip from the byline, only just missed the fast post. Hemp, great work on the wing, gets a cross in. Russo header, just wide. And this is like minutes. We're talking seconds apart. This is phase, attack, get the ball back. And these are really big chances. These aren't scruffs. These are proper chances. And literally the next chance is about 60 seconds later. The Aussies go long. In fact, there was a lot of long ball, I noticed, actually. There's a lot of teams going direct, bypassing the midfield. England were doing that a fair bit. Aussies go a bit too long for Kerr. Earps takes. We work the ball to Bright. She goes long herself. Matt, Ellie Carpenter, she hasn't really crowned herself on glory in this one, has she?
Yeah, and apparently a lot of the Australian fans or the neutrals are supporting Australia, or if you can call them neutrals, have been blaming her for that goal. If you look at it back, it is a moment of confusion. Like I go back to that Wolfsburg game where basically the defender and I can't remember the goalkeeper's name, but basically they both come together and Stina's just nicked it past it and gone, right,
Yes.
okay, I'll have it. Essentially, that is the kind of thing you're expecting Ellie Carpenter to just clear it. She completely misses it. Then you're expecting Mackenzie Arnold to come for it. She completely decides to stay on the line. And I think you're asking the wrong person, because I think G should really talk about this goal a little bit more.
I'm going round in a circle, unfortunately. But okay, well, I will. Before I go, Lottie, I will give G Hemp rights on this one. She's really come to the World Cup now, hasn't she, Hemp, with that finish?
Oh yeah, and it's so nice to see, isn't it? Like we've said a few times, the pressure she had in the Euros, and it just didn't happen for her. Obviously, we won, so that's the most important thing. But naturally, for her to have the spotlight and it didn't really work was a shame. But now it's off her. She's growing into every single game even more. And a bit of a first goal against Colombia about it as well, just fighting for it. I watched her and Alessia were on the Lionesses Live talking about it the other day, and she just said, well, actually, you're not, and you've got to be on your toes. You know, there's actually a picture of Lucy Bronze walking the other way because they think the goalkeeper's going to get it. She was like, well, I just went for it. I just chased it down, and that's exactly what she did today. She could have easily stopped in that moment and let the goalkeeper come out and get it, thinking Carpenter was going to clear it, but she didn't. She was throwing herself in the thick of it, and a really good finish in the end as well. So really happy for her.
It's one of those goals that you watch the ball go over, and it's Carpenter and Mackenzie Arnold, and Hemp sort of sneaks on the back, out muscles Carpenter. If you watch the replay, she has a swing of her foot at it, completely misses it. She's off balance, and Hemp has got there first. And all you can see is a massive bodies, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the ball was gone past Arnold into the bottom corner, and Hemp's peeling away. Absolutely right. I expected so much of her in the home Euros, and she got one goal. And she did obviously swinging the winning corner, but we never saw anything like this from Hemp. And I think she's, again, I talk about judging players too early. She, like Toone, she's really growing into a tournament. And we'll get on to more forwards later. But yeah, in the office, we're thrilled. It's 2-1 up. It's been 2-1 in the last two World Cup semi-finals, though they were 2-1 against us. And I'm now now it's, I think it's about 71 minutes in. So it's now 20 minutes from a World Cup final. And I think at that moment, the Australian response did kick in, did crank up. I think with Stanway had a chance where I think again she went for a wonder goal, and I think it was more of a Johnny Wilkinson drop goal attempt rather than an actual strike at goal. But the Aussies came on strong. Kerr started to have some opportunities. I think Kerr had a flick on that went well over the bar. Is it Vine? Vine had a strike. Great save. Very nearly a tap in for Van Egmond if it wasn't for Jess Carter, who was well placed to spoon over the bar. But then, with time almost up, 85 minutes, it's the biggest cliche in football that you always get one chance. And of all the players Australia would have wanted his chance to fall to is Sam Kerr. And for me, and this is not me being cynical anti-Kerr, I read a piece well before the World Cup actually about Sam Kerr, because she was in the 2019 World Cup squad of Australia, and they faced Norway in the last 16. It went to penalties, and obviously she was the captain lead, and she stood up and she missed her penalty. And they ended up losing on penalty. I think they only scored 1 out of 3. It was a 4-1 loss, but she missed one of the crucial penalties, and it was a kind of a big thing for her. And there was just something in the back of my mind that she was going to miss a crucial chance. I thought it was going to be a penalty against France, and obviously I was completely wrong. But this was the moment. The cross comes in. It's a poor punch from Earps. It falls in the 6-yard box. Lottie, did you think that was it? Do you think that was the moment the game was gone for us and Kerr was going to equalise again?
Well, not really. No, I had complete faith in my Queen of Stops. I ended up, obviously, I was at that point where I was sitting there pacing up and down my living room, like I just couldn't sit still. I needed to move, sort of thing. Anyone who knows me does like sees me watching a game in the pub or whatever. I won't be sitting down. I will be standing full through the 90 minutes, and then after I might consider it. But yeah, and I was pacing my living room at that point. Queen of Stop's done her job, so I was quite pleased with that. As you said, if they were going to score, that was the moment, and that's when the game would have changed. Yeah. But she didn't. And as an Arsenal / England fan, you can't help but laugh. I actually had a good laugh at that. That was great.
I think back to our World Cup 2019 when we played America and we had a penalty around at a similar time. We were 2-1 down then, and Steph Houghton missed the kick. I said it was a very poor penalty, and at that moment, we lost the game. Bright got sent off, and we were out of it. But I remember Phil Neville saying 4 times, if we equalised then, I think we could have got them an extra time. And obviously, I think if Australia, there was such momentum building, you could hear it in the crowd. And if Sam Kerr buries that volley that she's done countless times for Chelsea, she actually, it was almost a lazy swing and it went wide of the post. I do feel maybe it could have gone differently. I was hearing on the radio was quite the experience, because you hear the roar from the commentators, and usually when you hear a roar like that, there's a goal, and we're sort of all on tenterhooks, and then you hear the magic words that she hasn't scored, and there was a huge sigh of relief. It's a quite interesting office because there's quite a lot of Chelsea fans in there, and they love Sam Kerr. So it's sort of mixed emotions. But literally just after that, we hacked the ball clear into the midfield. The Aussie players miscontrol the ball, and Hemp, who seems to love pouncing on defensive mistakes and errors. She's made a real knack for it now, obviously with her last 2 goals, but she pounced on this one and then just goes at the Australian defence, who obviously are knackered now. It's near the end of the game. It's been about 4 minutes left. She runs at the edge of the box. All 4 defenders swarm on her and leave unmarked a certain Arsenal striker by the name of Alessia Russo. I'm going to get to the goal, but Gee, I'm going to give you first into this one, the pass.
A ball. There was times where I was like, go on, she's free now, pass it now. Yeah. And she just kept on a little bit more. And yeah, she could have gone to her left. I can't remember who it was that was in, but there was, obviously Russo was on the right. Someone, I can't remember, it might have been Toone or something, was on the left, and the pass was there as well. But it was kind of like almost a no-look pass.
It was a no-look. If you watch the replay, she goes one way and passes the other. It's incredible.
Through the Aussie girls, but also full credit to Alessia for staying on side, because you could kind of see that she was waiting for the ball to be like, yeah, I'm here. And she could have easily swayed offside, but she kept her run very well, and obviously almost a carbon copy of her goal the other day, tucks it in across the goalkeeper.
This is what's going to come on to you, Matt. Have we now seen the trademark Russo strike, which is the reverse cross keeper from the right channel?
You know what? It's very similar to what usually happens in Arsenal games when we have Beth Mead on that right-hand side. So take the North London derby, first couple of minutes, we'll have the ball, and then all of a sudden Beth Mead is through on that right-hand side. So it will be Kim Little, Leah Volti, or it'll be Leah Williamson, straight through ball across the ground, and then Beth Mead goes and taps it in first sort of range. And I think that she's finally not only now is she sorry, I should have had that on silent, but my mistake. Yeah, I think she's gonna thrive, if I'm honest, when she can have balls like that. I mean, she's not just a one-trick pony. She's not a heading merchant like we see from the German number 9. She's not the
penalty merchant like the player who's just gone to Germany.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. She's got a lot more that she can bring. And the fact that she can also play in a 2, I think it might turn Lionesses' head. I know they were asking Jonas about that now that she was signed on the dotted line and things like that. Is he glad about that? And I think it was just for the praise, but she has this aura now about her. That just makes her want to be one of the best. I think she wants to be one of the best in the next couple of years, and I think when she gets opportunities like that from Lauren Hemp and other England players around her, they could quite easily be contenders now for a Ballon d'Or.
Russo, you think Russo for Ballon d'Or? You think?
I think there'll be a couple of them in the Lioness squad. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with the best 11. But for Ballon d'Or, I think a couple of our Lionesses will be on that list.
There was a part of me that was thinking, because we know Ballon d'Or do have obviously a bit of a bias. If Sam Kerr had won the World Cup, and with Alexia Putellas obviously and Beth Mead out of ACLs, I wonder if maybe she was up for contention. But I think we can probably shelve that now because she's obviously going for the bronze medal. Lottie, Hemp and Russo as a forward too. I don't think we saw that coming as an attack force for the World Cup. Interestingly, obviously before the World Cup we could even score a goal. Not since obviously Toone scored in that little small game at Wembley against Brazil. The fact that they seem to be flourishing and they talk about how much they enjoy playing with each other. I mean, is this the future front two for England beyond the World Cup?
The thing is, I can't say yes and I can't say no.
Well,
purely on the basis because of Beth Mead and Leah Williamson, because you just don't know what Serena's going to do when they come back. And that's the thing that raised the questions, like, what are you going to do when you have these players come back? Who falls down the pecking order? Who climbs up the ladder? That's the main thing. And we know Serena is, this is going to sound really bad, but a creature of habit. That's the best way I can describe her. But for her to do this massive change, it was quite a massive thing for us as a pod as well. She's kind of stuck with it, and I'm going to have to back G on this one. She can't change anything for Sunday. She just can't.
Well, this is what I'm going to get to a bit later in the pod. In terms of what we will expect for the next game. So interesting is next is the substitutions. I'm just saying I was going to talk about in the Colombia game. I forgot to, but I'll bring it up this time around. We made our subs on the 87th and 90th minute. We took Bruce off and brought Kelly on and Neem Charles. I think was our first game of the World Cup. Not many players left for
second.
Oh, second was it? She played before,
second.
was she? Okay.
Yeah, she's already been subbed on before.
Was it Haiti or was it she brought on for? Or...
I can't remember which game, but I remember the commentator said this morning it's the second lot of minutes.
Okay. Well, there's not many left. I think Nobbs and a lot of them more in the goalkeepers. I think are probably the only ones yet to play a game. But very late subs again. We got so used to Serena bringing on substitutes on 65th minute during the Euros, but consistently at the World Cup, she's playing the likes of Russo and likes of Toone right up to the very end of the game and then bring them off with a few minutes left. Lottie, you said that she was a creature of habit, but it seems her habits have changed. Is this the end of the finishes for England, or do you think we might see a return to the future?
In the game, it's more of a case of run the clock down. Let's be serious.
Yeah.
Get a couple of fresh legs on in terms of like defenders, and just run the clock down until the end. I mean, you had 2-3 minutes of normal time, and you had the extra 6. Yeah. And it was so easy to frustrate and just wind down that clock. In the end.
Are you surprised that we haven't seen, say, Chloe Kelly or Beth England come off the bench earlier, like in the 60th minute, like we would have done?
And the score lines like that, no.
No. Okay.
If it was 2-1, then yes, I'd be surprised. But no, it was 3-1. So there's no offense to them. There's no need to be bringing them on, if that makes sense. I mean, Chloe Kelly picked up a yellow within.
Well, we're going to come on. We're going to come on to that. There are only 2 bookings in this match. Greenwood got 1. Didn't think about 10 for siving down curves on the counter. And also Greenwood to be on a booking that early on in the game and not make another mistake that would get yourself sent off. Potentially miss that final, but defensively secure again, brilliant. But Kelly's booking, I mean, hats off for skullduggery. To have the wit to accidentally bring the ball back into play when the goalkeeper was about to take a goal kick. Superb. Really channeling the spirit of the Lionesses at the Wembley final. But what I think impressed me, and I was going to come to you, G, Lioness game management, 6 minutes of added time. I don't recall seeing Australia have any presence or chance or siege on the goal to try and at least get one back.
Exactly that. It was brilliant all round. And the thing is, they've been through that situation before, haven't they? I know, obviously, we were a little bit more comfortable with 3-1 in the end.
Oh yeah.
It was close, and they sort of had to live through it. And sometimes you do have to just settle and keep the ball, not do anything silly. Because if you thought with, obviously there's a couple of minutes and then the 6, almost going to be borderline 10, isn't it? A lot can happen in that time. And if they were to nick a goal, it's all momentum on them. So yeah, we did really well to settle in and just see it out, get through it. And luckily there's no issues with yellow cards now. So
yes,
I think we just take one for the team.
Yes, there are no more suspensions. Lauren James obviously her suspension has run out. She served her time. We'll come on to that hopefully in a bit. Matt, I was going to say this is probably I think we agree with best England performance of the tournament so far. Would you say it's the best World Cup performance ever for the Lionesses at least?
I think this is up there. I don't think it's the best because I think I'll probably have to be a reflection on what happens post this tournament. But I go back to 2015 when we lost to Japan. That was a really good performance, but failed at last final. In that same tournament, beating Norway and Sweden and Canada.
Canada. Yeah.
There were great performances in there. You could probably go into to the 2019 tournament, the fact that we were playing against Scotland, it was a good game. Was it a good performance? Probably not, but we got the win.
I would give you the first half against Norway at 2019. That was as close to perfection, I would say, from an England team. When Bronze last scored a World Cup goal.
We still need a World Cup. Well, as I previously mentioned, we've still got two players that usually have a World Cup goal that haven't had their World Cup wonders just yet. So let's wait and see. But I think this is probably up there in perhaps the top 5. It'll be intriguing what everyone else thinks. Obviously, some people here on the panel this is their first World Cup. For other people watching, this is their first World Cup, so they've got nothing to compare it to. But is this? I think this would be up there with one of yours, I would imagine as well.
Yeah, I would say that ones that spring to mind is when we beat Japan 2-0 in 2011. Some brilliant goals in that game. 2015. I think the thing with 2015 is I would say that the results were great, but the performances were not. We were very defensive, very much sit back and we'll pick off your mistakes and pick on the counter. I mean, the comeback win against Norway was pretty special. But yeah, in terms of, I'd say as attacking unit, Norway's in 2019 for that first half at least was probably the best. But this is probably I'm really annoyed because I wish I could have watched this game live rather than catch up and really feel it properly rather than listening on the radio. But I would say this sounded like, and watching back felt like, the most complete England performance. And I'd say, watching me think back to the beginning of the tournament and that very nervous 1-0 scrape past Haiti with a Stanway retaken penalty. This team has grown so much in so little time, hasn't it?
Oh no, absolutely. And the thing is, it's this kind of experience you want your team to grow under. Most of the times for certain other teams, and being under this amount of pressure, it didn't work. But I think as the Euros were kind of a stepping stone to this summer, I think they were ready for that, and they were mentally prepared and knew what to expect from this tournament, and they've just grown into it, and it's so good to see, because there was a lot of question marks. What is it going to be like without Leah Willison? What's it going to be like without Beth Mead and Fran Kirby? And now those worries seem just to melt away, and it's good to feel like an England fan again instead of being like, what's going to happen, sort of thing.
I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't see this coming. I mean, I just probably because I was so traumatized by the idea that we've lost our captain, we've lost our top scorer, we've lost Frank Kirby, the heart of our creativity, and I just didn't see how the remains of this England team could couple together. I put a tweet out, and look, if you find this tweet, you're more than welcome to shout it and slate me for it. But the moment that Kira Walsh was taken off on a stretcher against Denmark, I pretty much just cancelled our entire World Cup hopes. I just wrote us off and said, no chance. If she's out for an ACL. Yeah, and if I say she's out for an ACL, we've got no chance. It's going to be a miracle if we make the World Cup. Let her win it, make it. Well, in the words of Clive,
that one for mentioning those
and rightly so,
didn't I?
I
did.
And I was going to say, in the words of Clive Tildesley, miracles are possible. And we have actually done it. And I think I look back at some of the other teams, because it's so easy to look at other teams and think, oh, but they're so much better than us. I look at Japan, who for me, I thought were amazing this tournament. But I think what England have shown is it's not, as they say in showbiz, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Japan started so well, and I think just tapered off and ran out of steam and then lost to Sweden. But we've slowly got better and better and better and better and better tournaments, progressed to, I hope, not peak at the semi-final. I think back to the Euros, I still think probably the best performance we had, apart from the first 20 minutes, was our 4-0 win over Sweden. It was certainly the most fun I had at the World Cup watching that game. The final was just a nervous wreck for 120 minutes. Interesting shout out also to Farrah Williams. She correctly predicted we'd beat Sweden 4-0. She also correctly predicted that we'd beat Australia 3-1 in the semi-finals. She's got a knack for correctly predicting semi-finals, it would appear. Moving on to Australia, and Lottie did steal my thunder earlier by answering the question I'm going to ask. I was quite intrigued by how Australia were going to line up for this one, because we saw how Colombia and we saw how Nigeria went player for player, high intense mark press, rushes off the ball, rushes into mistakes. And watching the game back and listening to it, I don't think they did that. I think they sat up a bit more. I think maybe they moved their press closer to their goal rather than in the field. So just would try to turn us over on their own box rather than let's say on the halfway line. And they got a few turnovers there and led to obviously the Kerr goal, but never the physicality that we saw in the previous two games that so unsettled England. And I think Nigeria showed there is a blueprint to beat England. I just don't think Australia bothered to read it. And I thought that was really interesting. I think they obviously thought they would just play their way and hope that would be enough. Clearly it wasn't. Now, Lottie, you mentioned earlier, Kerr starting the game. I think it would have caused an uproar if she had not started, given that she's probably not fully fit. But my feeling is that this Australia team has built this attack with the likes of Ford, the likes of Fowler, the likes of Hayley Rasso and Van Edmond without Kerr, and it's got them this far. And we've talked about England growing with Hemp and Russo building those partnerships together, Toone at the heart or James at the heart. This back three growing as the tournament progressed and gotten used to playing one another. The coach of semi-final, probably the biggest game in Australia's history, changes the attack to something that's never been done before and puts Sam Kerr in, who's world class. Was that a mistake?
Yeah, it was, because it was a very, very different Australia to what we were watching. No disrespect to Sam Kerr. A lot of people know I'm no fan of hers.
We've noticed.
Particularly when she's got that blue shirt on. But again, if you haven't watched the Matilda's documentary, please go and watch it and you'll understand the way she is. But yeah, no, it was their biggest mistake because they were just solely focusing on getting the ball to her. They weren't having crack shots at the goal like they were through the tournament. And I think that's what made them so enjoyable to watch. Hayley Rasso in particular was great, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the quality I've seen all tournament. That back line just before Toone's goal, they were arguing amongst themselves. They were so unstable. They were sitting there arguing. And I think at one point, towards the end, I actually saw Steph Catley get angry. When have we, as Arsenal fans, ever seen Steph Catley get angry? We haven't. She picked up. I think it was Kira Walsh in the corner because they clashed and collided at the corner flag. She picked up her leg and said, "Get the hell off me," sort of thing. Because the way they sort of landed, Steph Catley had landed on top of her, so the ball was just Steph had actually kicked the ball out, not Kira Walsh. And I've never seen her get so frustrated. I've seen Caitlin Ford get frustrated, but Steph Catley's normally quite a cool, calm character. But I think the biggest miss for the Australia battle line was Kennedy.
Yeah, apparently she was out with an illness. Yeah, I think she was out for it. I think it was her that came out, and it was Sam Kerr that came in. And for me, I think it became the super Sam Kerr show. And first they got the ball to her, and she got the equaliser. Yeah, they put all their chips on Kerr, and for me, the problem is having a Tallis woman. I said, if you've been watching the previous pods, I thought one of the great things with Lauren James is that she was this icon that we were sort of getting excited about after she got 2 goals against a very poor China side, as it turns out. But it cannot be the sole focal point of the attack. I mean, we saw in 2018, it just became, just give the ball to Harry Kane, and it turns out that once you get past all the easy teams, he sort of disappears. With Sam Kerr, she was back, but then she obviously wasn't fully fit. The attack, I think, was maybe This should be a team that is used to playing Sanko, to play it all the time. But the way the tournament had gone and the way they sort of grown without her, the moment she came in, it seemed to unbalance everything. And it was everything fed to her, or she was feeding everyone. And I think, she had 2 headed chances that she missed, and then the big one at the end. But I don't recall Caitlin Ford having any big chances. I don't recall Haley Rasso having any big chances. I don't recall Mary Fowler having any big chances. The Ford Catley access down the left-hand side, I don't recall seeing that. Just everything that was so great about Australia just seemed to disappear. Whether that's nerves, tactics, or the fact that Sam Kerr has come in, or a combination of all of them. But or we could just credit England for the fact that they did so well to neutralise them in the way they set up.
I think that left side, we really struggled against Lucy Bronze. Really struggled. They didn't know how to deal with it. I think Caitlin Ford ran out of ideas in the end. Steph Catley was getting frustrated. She wasn't getting enough space, but that's what we want from Lucy Bronze. And I think that's why, again, their flow kind of stopped, because they relied. So if you look through the tournament, they rely on that left side magic as much as the Arsenal do, and it just didn't happen.
I should say, Bronze is obviously a player I did have a question about in the last pod. I think she answered it in spades. Matt, another one I had a question about was Ella Toone. Just a quick shout that, we said it earlier in the pod, but that was probably her best performance for England at the World. Well, I say in the World Cup, probably for quite some time now, I'd say.
Well, considering this is our first World Cup, then yes.
Well. I mean, at this World Cup,
yes,
and the build up to it.
Yes, it almost feels like she's out pre-season. It's just like the first opening games, and she's finally found her feet again, which is great to see. But we'll wait and see what happens further down the line. Because now she's set this standard. We've got one more game left, and hopefully she rises once again.
Well, this brings on to the next question. I'm going to come to you, G. Serena Wiegmann's got a decision now. Ella Toone is taken up to semi-final, but she's now hit form. But Lauren James is now available. Does Serena stick or twist going into this final? Does she bring Lauren back from the cold, because we know the talent she had in the group stage was so good? Or do we stick with Toone just because she had one good game today?
You stick with Toone because her head is screwed on, and also she has final experience. After what Lauren James, whatever she plays for Chelsea, I think I've said before, I can't connect to her too much. Yes, she's fantastic. I'm never going to take that away from her. But to throw her back in after what she's been through the past week probably isn't going to help her either, really. With all the pressure she's had and probably all the negativity she's read as well, to then throw her back in and expect her to not do that and to be back to how she was against China probably wouldn't be too fair. And then you've got Ella Toone, who, yes, she hasn't had the best of tournaments, but she has turned up today and she has experienced the final before and dragged us through the final. And she can produce those moments. Her connections today were really good between, obviously, Russo. They're always going to be there, aren't they? But I just think it would be unfair. And I think Toone, for now, even just for experience, and if it isn't working, then you have the option to bring Lauren James.
I think that's what will happen. I think that Toone will start, and I can think maybe 65 minutes. If it's a bit quiet, I think James will come off the bench. And if she's up for it, and if she's up to correct the wrong of the Nigeria game, I think she will really flex what she can do. And we saw what happened against Denmark and China in the tournament. She has the talent. It's just whether she's got the temperament and the maturity to manage it. So moving towards the end, the final, I think we're all rather excited and nervous for it. A quick round the table predictions. I'll go to you, Lottie. Is it coming home again?
You know it is. Come on, let's be serious. You're not going to get any other answer off me, you cynic. I'm going to go...
Scorelines, goal scorers, come on.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 again.
Okay, we should say for it's Spain. This is a Spanish...
hello, did you see that scoreline last summer? Hello? I'm not afraid of Spain. Regardless if Alexia's back or not, she's had a quiet tournament. I'm not afraid
of Spain because I watched them at the Euros, and that was the most terrified I was for the entire tournament.
I think we all did. We all watched it. Yeah. I know you watched it live, but it's a very we didn't miss that game, so that's a bit unfair for you to say that. Oh,
TV. I wasn't yet. No, I was the one game I missed, and I'm rather glad I did. I the safety of the sofas behind, and the way Spain played was unlike anything in the tournament. But thankfully, Ella too had our shooting boots on. Matt, I'm going to come to you quickly. Quick scoreline predictions. You tend to err on the side of caution. Do you think Spain have got a chance?
Well, this is the thing. It's almost like, as Serena said, a fairy tale ending in a way for her.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got the Vilda, who's basically the manager that no one likes. No one's interested in celebrating it. He's now got an opportunity to be like, yeah, I've got a World Cup, and at the end of it, which means it's basically it's almost like, you know, the angel and the devil on the cartoon shows that you used to watch. Like, whenever there was choice, Serena's on one side and Vilda's on the other, and it's you want to go with Serena, but you just have a feeling that it's going to take something like a Perello or maybe even Alexa. Alexa really hasn't turned up this tournament so that's one sort of err on the side of caution. I actually went 1-0 Australia, didn't I, last time?
So I think you did.
I think I will just hatch it on a 1-1 and in 90 minutes. I won't say penalties. I won't say extra time. I'll just say it'll be sorted out in extra time, because I have a feeling that there is potential there that Serena will do some sort of magic in that half an hour that they're not expecting.
Jordan Lobbs 30-yarder to win it.
Absolute parasitics. I've actually got a question for you both.
Yeah.
If Jorge Vilda wins this World Cup, how do we sack him?
How does
Spain
sack
the geezer?
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve that job.
George Voldemort, as I think he should be known, George Voldemort, he should be known going forward. It's so frustrating. The problem is football doesn't run on morality. It's not based on, well, you know, you're a nasty person, therefore you won't win the World Cup. It doesn't work like that. The morality of good or evil disappear on the football pitch. And the problem is he is an incompetent, awful man in charge of one of the most talented team at the tournament. That if they had a really strong manager, managing them with the 15, 12 players back home who weren't picked, they could win the World Cup at a canter. But the fact is they still can. A team that lost 4-0 to Japan can still win the World Cup. Again, makes no sense. And I just remember back to the Euros and just remember how much England struggled in that first 60 to 75 minutes until George had a bit of a tactical implosion and decided, you know what, let's just sit off Kira Walsh for the last 30 minutes. I'm sure we can ride that, and he couldn't. I'll go to G first and I'll get to my predictions. So G, quick scoreline from you, scores, goal scorers. Are we going to get is Alessia Russo going to become top scorer of a hat-trick? Is it going to happen? She's on 3 goals. They're all on 3 goals now.
Yeah. Is 5 the top so far? Still the Japanese player?
So
yeah,
still 5 the top. So James, Hemp and Russo are all on 3 goals. So if they even get a hat-trick, they're there.
You know what? I'm getting to those feelings where I don't want to do anything. I don't do anything that I haven't done. I haven't listened to any songs, 3 lines, nothing the whole way through. So I'm not doing it now. I've obviously been at work most of the time, so I'm tempted to just go and sit in my office and watch it.
Okay.
It's those superstitions
kicking
in and say, please don't let me do something I didn't do before and ruin it. But I have done predictions. I thought today was going to go to extra time, to be honest. But I'm going to say, probably the complete opposite way now, but I'm going to say it'll be done in the 90. And I want to say it'll be the 2-1 England.
2-1 England.
And a potential defender to score.
Yes. It'd be nice if Lottie Williams came off the bench and got a winner. That would be a real message.
Gem BTS.
I mean, I'd love to take golden boot.
Exactly.
But it's anyone that gets on that score sheet, as long as they've got 3 lines on their chest, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Should also say, obviously, there is another game happening on Saturday, the Lionesses bronze playoff, which if Amanda Illister gets 2 goals, she'll get the golden boot as well. I am the ultra cynic, as you know, and I've been cynical throughout this entire World Cup, and it's unlike G. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing this whole time because it's got us this far. So I'm not going to predict England will win because I'm a coward, and I'll proudly say I'm a coward by predicting England. Because I predicted when I remember the Nigeria game after we beat China, I said, "Yeah, we'll beat Nigeria easily, 3-0." And what happened? It was 0-0. It was awful. We got players sent off and went to penalties. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-0 Spain. Yeah, 2-0 Spain, and Parioli will score a brace, and then Spain win the World Cup. And hopefully that will bring it home for us. I'll do a quick. Actually, we've got a bit of time. I'll do a quick run around as well, just because for giggles, for the third place playoff, the game that everyone says no one cares about, except that obviously in 2015 we won the bronze medal, and it was amazing for us.
Oh no.
Changed for so many years, but that's in the past now. That's buried, along with the Steph Fulton penalty. That's buried. The offside. It's all gone. We are in the final. But just quickly for the third place game, Aussies versus Sweden. Obviously, the hosts will want to get a bronze medal to sort of round off what's been a great tournament. Which way do you think it's going to go? I'll go to you, Lottie, just quickly.
I'm not picking any side. There's 5 Arsenal players in there. I'm not picking. I'm just going to watch as a neutral. I'm not picking.
Just hoping for lots of goals.
Yeah, just say protein score.
No, definitely. There's 5 Arsenal players in there. I'm not choosing. It's not going to happen. Like, they deserve their holiday. Let them go on holiday. Let them come back for Champions League qualifying. Let's just get over and done with. That's my attitude.
Can I get just goal fest, please, and enjoy?
Yeah, I think Sweden are going to do it again. Just because they've been medal winners in the Olympics, and also the last World Cup. If I had to put a prediction on it, I would probably imagine it would be like a 3-2 game. Just for giggles, Steph Catley scores, Caitlin Ford scores, Amanda scores,
Stina scores,
Stina scores as well.
The winner.
Yeah,
Hertie scores the winner. 3-2. Well, I'll come back to you. Final word as the guest. Just a quick third place playoff. Are you going to be watching it? And which way do you think is going to swing?
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it. I don't know. I think Sweden as well. It's just the heartbreak game, isn't it? I don't think, in my opinion, I don't like it. It's just a lot to take, isn't it? But yeah, I think it'll be one of those, like a 1-0. It's going to be a bit of a scrappy one. Yeah, but my thoughts are on Sweden just because I think the Aussie heartbreak is a bit raw. I'll round off with a few more thoughts I had on the games going forward. The finals, I think it's going to be interesting, England versus Spain, because it's a final of absentees. Obviously, our absentees rather, because of injuries and retirements, whereas Spain's absentees are to do the politics behind the scenes. You know, neither team have gone in with arguably the full strength side, and yet they're both in the final, which is incredible. And I think it's going to be an amazing spectacle. We're going to have a new name on the World Cup trophy, and hopefully it'll be us, fingers crossed. And I think it also shows for Australia the power of being a host nation. I always feel if you're a host nation, you've got a decently assembled side, you will go deep in the tournament, and I think that's really helped Australia go to the semi-final. They've had an amazing tournament. But I think with England, what's helped us is the experience you've had. We've got to semi-finals on our own steam, and I think being the host nation in the Euros is what got us that extra step to the final. And now we have an experience of doing that. We've done it again. And shout out to Serena Wiegman. 4 tournament, excluding Olympics, 4 tournament finals in a row with 2 different countries is incredible. But that's it. That's the end of the show. It's been an incredible show. It's been an incredible semi-final. We've done it. We've reached a World Cup final for the first time since 1966. Fancy that. I'm looking forward to when Badil and Frank Skinner get the record out and do yet another single to celebrate the the 3 Lions. I shudder to think what the lyrics are going to be about this time. I've lost count how many years I've heard right now, but it's going to be set back to 0 with any luck if the weekend goes the way we want to. Before we wrap up, just a quick shout out to people's socials. I'll go to you, G. G, where can we find you? Yeah, thank you for having me on again. On Twitter, it's at GTriggs, Instagram at GoonerG1. And the final words are, in Serena we trust.
Absolutely, and do keep an eye out for your pod as well on the Arsenal men. It's worth tuning into. I think the first episode went out the other night, and it's a cracking watch. So do keep an eye out for that. Matt, where can we find you?
when my mic decides to work. I apologise. You can find me on Twitter at MattLR28, or you can find me on Vic Akers Wonderland podcast.
Absolutely. And absolutely right, Matt. We've got our own Twitter account, Vic Akers Wonderland official Twitter account. Do keep an eye on that and follow it for all updates regarding the pods and episodes coming out. Last but not least is, of course, Lottie. Lottie, where can we find you?
Find me being regularly tormented by Matt and Adam to their leisure. Although not so
done
much.
anything.
Although not so much, Matt. I did that for the reaction. But yeah,
I must admit, like I said, it's the first one I think I've done where I've not tried to wind anybody up. I think this must be a record. I think the emotion of winning semi-final.
This episode has been very chill. I'll give you that.
It's been very chilled and very well behaved.
A little bit of cynicism. But yeah, but we need that. It's routine now. You can find me on Twitter at Lottie_AWFC. Same on Instagram. Also, come and follow Vic Akers Wonderland Pod. VAW Pod on Twitter. Our podcast name is way too long, so I had to break it down to initials. Come and give us a follow. We will give you a follow back, and I'll hand you all back up to Adam.
Just before that, we are on 38 followers on Twitter at the moment.
And we have reached 103 subs on YouTube and a whole 15 on Spotify.
Yeah,
Nice.
we have hit triple figures on the YouTube subscriber front, which is an incredible achievement. Massive thank you to all of you who subscribe and enjoy listening to us talk about women's football for about an hour or longer if we lose track of time. But it really means a lot, and I hope you're enjoying it, listening to us as much as we are. Chatting and recording about it, even though at times I think we do wish we could strangle one another. Thankfully, this is done over Skype, so we're not we're not close enough to be able to manage it. Nonetheless, it's the end of the show. Just needed to say, if you want to follow me on Twitter, Lord knows why, at AdamSalter4. I talk about women's football occasionally, and I try and fail to be funny as well. But I'll leave the judgment up to you. But that's it. It's the end of the show. It's the end of an amazing podcast, an amazing moment, a magical moment in time, as the mighty Peter Drury would say. We'll be back soon. We've got another pod coming out to cover the other semi-final, Spain versus Sweden, although we may have spoiled the ending for that one, so we do apologise. And then just two more games. The World Cup's almost over. The third place playoff and the final will be, I may be picking apart that one. I'm not too sure yet. See what my schedule's like, but Lottie and Matt most certainly will be. And hopefully you will be with us too. But just until then, good night and take care.